Welcome back to Shire Travels. This is part 2 of our Wonnangatta Valley adventure. After the early morning cloud lifted, it was a beautiful sunny day. We decided to head over to Talbertville and do the Crooked River Track. As you can see here, it was around about an hour 40 to get over to Talbertville. We drove up Herne Spur Track, Cynthia Range Track, and then eventually onto Crooked River Track. Now, to get out of the Wonnangatta Valley in this direction, you do have to cross the Wonnangatta River a number of times. Some of these crossings were actually quite deep, but fortunately the entry and the exits into the river were fine, not too slippery. Driving through the river here was amazing. You're down in the valley, it's so green and lush. It really is an amazing spot. Now, I don't have any footage of us driving up Herne Spur. We were driving directly into the sun. It was pretty dusty and very bumpy, and I think the footage would have just been terrible. So don't have any footage of that. This is when we got to the top, and then we headed on to Cynthia Range Track. By the time we made it onto Crooked River Track, it was time to have some lunch, so we just pulled over in a random small campsite, had a bit of lunch, and then the kids had to play around in the river. Then it was time to head over to Talbertville and start the track. Now, despite us leaving quite early in the morning, it took a bit longer than we anticipated to get over to the start of the track. Because of that, we decided that we would just do one section of it, get to a point, and then turn back around. For the most part, the track was absolutely fine. Plenty of river crossings, as the name might suggest. There was one point though which we went down and we thought, right, we're probably going to have a bit of trouble coming back up. It was soon after that we decided we'd turn back, head to Talbertville. And this was the section where we got just a little bit stuck. couple of the cars made it up no problem. Our friend's car here, when they got to the top and got a bit stuck, they actually realized that they didn't have four-wheel drive and actually hadn't had four-wheel drive all weekend, and that was why they had ended up struggling when they were towing in their camper trailer. So they decided to winch themselves up and out. Next, it was our turn. We gave it a little bit of a go, but to be honest, we were worried about slipping because the track was so wet, and we didn't want to do a panel on the car. We're quite precious about our car. Now, Tom's brother couldn't quite get the clip of his winch onto our recovery point, so we decided to just clip the two winches together. It was only about a meter, I want to say, of a rise that we had to just pop over the top. So we just clipped the winches together and then slowly pulled ourselves up. Easily done. Back in Talbertville, the guys had a bit of a look at the car to see if there was anything obvious as to why the four-wheel drive wasn't working. We couldn't figure it out, so we just decided that we would head back to camp. It was getting somewhat late in the day. Because they didn't have four-wheel drive, we decided to take a slightly different route back. We decided to take the Tea Tree spur track, which had a little bit of uphill at the start, but was fairly flat throughout. Now there's a gate that you need to go through at the start, just make sure it's shut. And then this track was actually quite overgrown. It didn't feel like a lot of people went on it. And safe to say, the car got quite a few pinstripes that afternoon. We finally made it back to camp though, and everyone was in one piece. We decided to spend a bit of time before dinner just hanging out down by the river. There was a little beach where the kids could safely get in and out, and they had a ball just doing what kids do best, breaking up rocks and throwing them back in. Just showing you here my DIY exhaust fan, and one of the reasons why our caravan was just so heavy coming in was we also bought like a full cocktail making set with us. So Tom whipped up a few mojitos, and the rest of the afternoon was spent just enjoying the glorious weather. That night we had another campfire going, and it was a full moon. We were expecting some weather to roll in, and at one point there was about one flash of lightning, one roll of thunder, and that was it. No rain, which was very fortunate. On our last day at Wonnangatta, we double-checked the weather and we could see that there was some rain coming. Now, this was on the Monday. We had debated whether or not to try and stay and then get out on the Tuesday, but we knew if it rained a lot, we were really going to struggle on that first section of the Wonnangatta trek. We did, however, think that there was no point leaving too early. We had the entire day to get back, so we decided we'd hang around until about lunchtime and then head off. This gave us time to look at the cemetery and also the homestead ruins. This just tells you a little bit of the history as to who is buried here. It's very sad, lots of young women and their young children, including a couple of twin baby girls who died only a few days old. After the graveyard, we went up to the ruins of the homestead. We were actually quite surprised to not really find that much information on what exactly the family did here in terms of the animals they had, the crops they had, the way of life. There really wasn't that much information. There also wasn't any information on the unsolved Wonnangatta murders that occurred in 1917. This is where the Wonnangatta station manager Jim Barkley and the cook John Bamford were murdered, and it remains unsolved to this day. Now look, maybe it's at the request of the family that there's no information there, but it just seems strange. It's a very infamous case. There's lots of podcasts and even books on it, and so it's just strange that it wasn't even acknowledged at all at the site. But as I said, maybe it's at the request of the family, or there is the Friends of the Wonnangatta Valley Association, and maybe they just don't want the area to be remembered for that sort of incident. Back to camp, and it was finally time to pack up. And it's always good to be able to pack up when everything is dry. It just makes it so much easier when you get home. We got the kids set up with their lunch, and I just want to show you here the storage area that we have at the back, the big drawer. In there I had some extra tubs of food just to make sure that we had everything in case the weather turned terrible and somehow we got stuck in there. I also had about a week's worth of clothes for the kids. Now we weren't sure how dust proof this drawer was going to be, so I just found these bags from Kmart, and they fit in the drawers absolutely perfectly and kept everything really clean. Also, just to touch on the water, we took in 200 litres of water, and this is how much we had left at the end of 4 nights. I only had one shower during the whole time that we were there. Tom had a quick rinse, but he chose to mainly just jump in the river to cool off, and one of the kids had a quick shower, and that was about it. This was a really good test to see how long we could make our 200 litres of water last, and I think if we were really sparing, we probably could make that capacity last for about a week. Now, Tom ran the numbers for our fuel consumption for the weekend, and he measured it from Myrtleford into Wonnangatta, doing all our 4-wheel drive trips, and then back out to Myrtleford, so didn't include the highway kilometres from Melbourne getting to Myrtleford. The fuel consumption came in at 35 litres per 100, which knocked all our other records out of the park. The car is extremely thirsty. It is a V8 petrol. It's also extremely heavy. Even when we're not towing, it really doesn't get very good fuel consumption. It's something that we do want to look at ways to improve in the future, and I think one of those is getting a torque converter lockup kit. If we do get it and install it, I'd be really eager to do a video trying to show the difference between before and after, running all the numbers and seeing if it does actually make a difference. But yeah, 35 litres per 100. We took two 20-litre jerry cans of petrol in with us and ended up using both of them. Once we were packed up and ready to go, we headed out of camp and the weather was slowly starting to roll in. Now all the other campsites around us had emptied out really early, some of them before 7 a.m, which we were a little bit worried about. We thought maybe there's something they know that we don't, but we had checked the weather a couple of times and we could see that we would probably be okay until around midday. Once again, we crossed the Wonnangatta River and then we headed up the steepest and most difficult section of the Wonnangatta track. Now I have done a separate video which is dedicated to just towing in and out and shows you this track in detail. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But overall, getting out wasn't too bad. We did scrape the rock sliders a couple of times, but going out we were a bit lighter. We reckon we were probably about 300 or 400 kilos lighter. Once we made it over that steep section, we stopped for a little while just to check over the car and van, and that's when it started to rain, and we were very grateful that we had made it over that steep section and didn't have to worry about the track being too slippery from there on in. The rain really started coming down as we headed out. It was very gloomy and miserable. There was one section of the track on Abbey Yards Road which was particularly slippery, a very flat section, but we went around a corner and everything got a little bit sideways, so just bear that in mind, that track can get slippery. Once we got back onto the bitumen, we needed to air up. We decided to head to Lake Buffalo. We could see on our map that there was a bit of a picnic area and toilets. We hoped that maybe there'd be somewhere slightly undercover where we'd be able to shelter from the rain. A big tree was the best that we could find, and poor Tom got absolutely drenched airing back up. It was a good spot though. On a nicer day it would be great, right next to the lake. There's toilets there, picnic benches and a playground. I sat in the car and found myself watching the new Top Gun movie, which for some reason is on our car entertainment system. And then once we had aired up, we started heading back to Melbourne. We decided to stop in Benalla to get some dinner, and the pub there was actually really good. Before we knew it, we were back in suburbia, and that was the end of our amazing Wonnangatta adventure. We loved our time there and can't wait to head back again because there's so much to explore in the area. If you've liked this one, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to follow along, and I'll see you in the next one.